Welcome to the Heart of Fauquier podcast. I'm your host, Austin Bedrosian, and today's special guest entrepreneur is Cindy Santa Anna. She is a nutritionist and health coach, does a lot of great things in that area, so I'm excited to learn about her story and share it with you. And thank you so much for being a guest.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. And so, first of all, you come in with a lot of experience. You said 13 years you've been in the area, and 12 of those years, is that right? 12 years you've been in nutrition and wellness.
Yeah.
Awesome. Has that all been you branched out on your own with your own business and nutrition, or have you worked in like different companies with that industry?
I got into this because I was actually fat, sick, and unhealthy.
Okay.
I was 50 pounds overweight and I was on 4 medications by the age of 40. And I just thought, man, there's got to be a better way. And we moved here from San Diego, and I just happened to have a neighbor who was in that health and wellness space. And we started talking and spending more time with them. She taught me how to source local food, how to eat for my body. Basically, I found out I was dairy intolerant and had a dairy allergy. So when I stopped that, the allergies went away, the frequent sinus infections and bronchitis went away. And then I started moving my body. I started exercising, and the 50 pounds came off, and all the aches and pains went away.
Yeah.
And I had more energy for my kids, and I felt amazing. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to share this with as many people who will listen because this is truly life changing.
Yeah, huge impact on you.
It did. And I was at the point where I really didn't want to be in the career I was in anymore, which was marketing and PR previously. And, my kids were starting to go back to school. And so this was the perfect time to dig in and try something different. So I went to a nutrition school and learned sort of motivational interviewing and how to get at the root cause of what's going on with somebody. And so I became a health coach first. And then, people started their health just got worse, as far as as a society. So I wanted to learn more. So I went to my second nutrition school and then started to learn more, and a culinary nutrition school. And so that was really interesting, learning how to cook healthy foods and how to teach people how to prepare them. And then a few years later, I went to a third and my final school, learning root cause nutritional therapy. And that really allowed me to dig deep with my clients and figure out what's going on with them and reverse serious health issues. And so, 12 years later, I'm still in it and still, taking courses and webinars and trying to learn more and keep up with the latest science of what's good, what's bad,
Yeah.
what's a fad. And I absolutely love what I do because it is so rewarding and so fulfilling to help change people's lives in the same way that I was able to change my health.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you wanted to make this change, you jumped into it, but then with school, did you have to like go back for, is it certificates kind of stuff, or did you like go for multiple years of college? What all did you go back to?
Yeah, so luckily I already had a degree
Okay.
and a bachelor's in science in the field. I just kind of had strayed away from that for so many years. But so yes, they are mostly certificates
Okay.
and certifications that you can get and testing that you have to take to be able to become a nutritional therapist. And to answer your original question, it was initially all on my own. I have an LLC, so I'm, it's just me.
Yeah.
But I also work for the very prestigious Amen Clinics, which has 10 brain health clinics all over the United States, and I'm their lead nutritionist. So I help mainly with patients there who have dementia, Alzheimer's, traumatic brain injury, anxiety, depression, etc. But they're very holistic in that nutrition and lifestyle has to be a part of that healing process. So that's another amazing, rewarding job that I get to do is helping those senior folks have better longevity and feel better as they're aging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. And that's cool that they put a focus on that there, because I don't know that that's the norm. you know, to have that as such a big thing for you to be employed there just to do that with these people recovering from surgeries and everything like that. So that's
Yeah.
great.
I mean, food, everything that we take in, becomes our hair, our skin, our nails, our
Mm-hmm.
blood. So food is information and it tells our cells what to do. And if we take in crappy information, then we're going to get crappy results.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we take in good, healthy, nutrient dense whole foods, then we're going to get amazing, better health,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of hard to do in America because of our lifestyle. The choices that are out there, the convenience foods, the fast foods, we're inundated kind of with not so great choices. So it does take work and planning and effort to eat this way.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier how important, local sourcing and knowing where it's coming from, and even, your neighbor that kind of introduced you back into it, I suppose, into
Yeah.
the field, how she taught you or led you into that direction again. So if people are wanting to make this change, what should they be looking for with locally sourced food, and how can they do that?
Right. So one of the biggest changes that I made was sourcing local food. And one of my, I guess best farmer friends is Whiffletree Farm. Jesse Straight has an amazing farm. Every year I get my Thanksgiving turkey there. I source my pasture raised meats. I get my eggs from him, raw honey. It's all local. So there's something to it when you're sourcing local food. Um, Obviously, it's non-GMO and it's all grass-fed and it's
Mm-hmm.
healthier, but it's not being shipped from Argentina or
Yeah.
all across the United States. This food is fresh and it has better nutrients. It has better heme iron, B6, B9, B12, conjugated linoleic acid. It's going to be a better product. And then we have amazing, farmers markets here
Mm-hmm.
and local produce. So when you're getting something that's just picked from the farm that weekend, the nutrients are going to be higher versus something that's been created from who knows where,
Yeah.
across the United States and spent a lot of time in shipping and in transit and losing their nutrients. So eating local is very important to our health. So I encourage a lot of my clients to, visit local farms. This is a great time of year to go apple picking and visit some of the local pick your own that's out there. If you don't know where a farm is, there's eatwild.com and localharvest.org where you can put in your zip code and you can find local farms near you. But I encourage everybody, wherever they live, to source local farms and support those local farmers who are doing it right, who are raising animals on grass and chickens on grass, eating bugs and grass,
Mm-hmm.
which is their natural diet,
Yeah.
versus GMO corn and soy, which it's not so great for the animal. It's not, and
Not
it's
for
not
us
great
either.
for
Yeah.
us either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you put a lot of emphasis on organic stuff, or is that just kind of a stamp people might not always have, but it's still the best stuff? Like,
Yeah.
what's your take on the whole
On
organic thing?
That's a great question because so many people think, oh, organic is, it's a fad or it makes things more expensive or it's not a real thing. And what is important to ask, especially if it's a farmer's market, is it might not have that organic label on it, but ask the farmer how they're handling pests, what they're using, to control. How many pesticides, herbicides, fungicides are they spraying? And if you don't like the answer, then maybe find another farmer who is doing it right. But that organic label is very expensive, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
farmers cannot afford to pay the tens of thousands of dollars it is to get that organic label. But as a whole, if you're going to a grocery store, yes, that organic label is very important because a conventional strawberry, for example, has upwards to 25 different herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides sprayed on it. So, yes, I'm going to be going for that organic version versus the conventional. But there is something called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And I encourage somebody to just look that up online and look up what the Dirty Dozen is. And basically, it's 12 fruits and vegetables that are sprayed very heavily.
Okay.
Every year, it's usually some sort of berry, kale, apples, peaches, sometimes greens. The those stay pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But you can buy the non-organic version of, say, like avocados or bananas. You don't have to spend that extra $1 because they have a thick outer shell. They're not sprayed as heavily. So you can kind of save your money on getting, looking at that Dirty Dozen Clean 15 kind of label. But it is really important to keep our pesticide load low in the body, because that's where we start to see a lot of problems with gut health, and gut integrity, intestinal permeability, because if we start eating a lot of foods that have been sprayed with those, they mainly affect gut health and can lead to autoimmune diseases and allergies. So it's best to avoid those as much as possible.
Yeah.
As much as your budget will allow.
Yeah. And then those autoimmune things, you even mentioned, I believe you said that you had one, or it was oncoming kind of thing. And so it was mainly diet that reversed that for you. Yeah.
When I found out, basically dairy was a huge exacerbator of symptoms for me. And I just wasn't listening to the signs and symptoms that my body was hailing at me,
Stop eating this.
Yeah. It was like postnasal drip, and it was a little like little cough, and sometimes some gastrointestinal, maybe a little bloating, and you just kind of deal with it and you put up with it every day. But then when I went 2 weeks without it as a elimination kind of test, all of a sudden those symptoms went away, and I was like, maybe there's something to this. And literally it's been 10 years without dairy, and every once in a while if something sneaks in there, a little symptoms comes back, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay away from it. But when I eliminated those foods that were causing those symptoms, for me it was gluten and dairy, I was able to reduce my thyroid antibodies and stop the autoimmune attack. I had been diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune attack on the thyroid. And toxins are a big part of that. The thyroid is like a sponge in the neck, and it just takes up everything. And so if we can reduce our toxic load, and if we can stop the assault with the allergies, I was able to put that in remission and not have issues with that anymore.
Yeah. So if other people have, dairy intolerance or issues with that, have you seen a difference depending on where it comes from? Like, typically people have cow stuff, but if, people have goats or whatever it might be, have you seen a difference, or is dairy for most people?
I mean, some people can tolerate sheep or goat. I can tolerate a little bit of sheep or goat, like feta.
Yeah.
Very small amounts, and it doesn't. But if I overdo it, I start to get the symptoms again. For a lot of clients, I'll do food intolerance testing. So it looks at whether or not it's the casein, the protein, which is in all of those animals, in their products, or is it another component of the product that's making them symptomatic, basically. So I'll do food intolerance testing, and I've done that on myself, and it does actually show that it's low with sheep and goat. So I'll allow a little bit of that every now and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like an allergy test? Like how do they?
How do you do that? So there's allergy testing, and then there's food intolerance or food sensitivity testing. So with food allergies, that's like an IgE. It's a little sciencey. It's a little bit more of it's a different it's an immediate reaction. You eat a food and you're like, my throat's closing up, or I'm itchy, or my tongue is swelling. That's an immediate IgE allergy. But with food intolerances or sensitivities, you may eat a food and a day or two later you may get some itchy eczema, or you may have tummy troubles, or you may just have a little bit of postnasal drip, or maybe you don't sleep well that night. But it might be 1 or 2 or heck even 3 days later that these symptoms show up, and now you're like, well, what was it? Right. I've had 3 days worth of food, so what food was it? So this is a fantastic way at testing those IgG antibodies, which are food intolerances, to say what is causing those symptoms. And it's just a simple finger stick, or you can do a blood draw, but I usually send a kit to somebody's house and they just drop some blood spots and they send it in, and it gets tested against 176 different foods and beverages and additives to see what they could be reacting to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then these things can develop over time too, right? So if someone wasn't allergic before, can you develop those intolerances and allergies and
absolutely.
everything? Okay.
And they can kind of wane and
Okay.
ebb and flow. So and that is due to intestinal permeability. So if your gut is sort of what they call that leaky gut, where you've got food, proteins, and toxins basically entering into the bloodstream via the intestines, then your body launches that attack. So you can have issues. I'll give you an example. Last year, I developed a sudden intolerance to eggs. My favorite breakfast. I love a two egg omelet with some veggies and some avocado. That's like my favorite. I'd have it maybe 5 or 6 days a week. That was just my go-to for years. And then all of a sudden, it was just terrible stomach pain. And then one day I actually threw up after eating them. And I'm like,
no.
okay.
Like, dang it, I gotta figure something else out
I am
for
listening
breakfast.
to you. I hear you. I'm stopping the eggs. So I did for like 4 months. I completely eliminated them and then tried to reintroduce, and I still had the stomach pain. And I was like, well, I still need some work, still need to do some gut work, still need to do some healing, keep it out of the diet.
Okay.
And so now, a year later, I can successfully eat those with no issues anymore. And it's just wild. The body will.
You just needed a break, or did
change.
you have to do something with like probiotics or eating something right?
It's a whole kit and caboodle of gut healing, certain supplements, things like L-glutamine are very, very healing. They kind of go in and just sort of heal and seal that gut wall. So it's a supplement that I use that has a bunch of healing herbs in them. Okra. A lot of people don't like okra because they think it's just kind of gross, but it has this mucilaginous quality to it. When you cut it, it's very, very gloppy, but that stringy glue stuff just goes in there and just heals and seals the intestinal wall.
Sticks to your insides.
Yeah, it pokes, it stops all those pokey holes that are going on. And then chia seeds are another great one that do that too.
What is that?
Chia seeds.
Oh, chias. Okay.
Yeah. So like chia seed pudding or...
In people's water, some people
some people like to put it in their water.
Thing, yeah.
So there's foods, there's supplements and things that you can do to heal your gut, but it's also just removal of those foods. GMO foods, alcohol is another one that causes gut issues.
Sure.
People don't like to hear that, but it's a toxin.
It's true.
It's not good for us, unfortunately. So it's just a matter of, abstaining from those certain foods that are triggers for you, allowing that healing to take place.
And then kind of introduce it.
Safely reintroducing that food very slowly. Yeah.
Because I've had issues, not that people want to hear my issues, but maybe they can relate with it. So I never had any allergies that I knew of growing up, but then suddenly a few years ago, bananas and apples and almonds, like these different things came up, and I'm like, where in the world is this coming from? So I guess sometimes taking a break, and it might be a stomach thing. I don't know. But usually it'd be like itchy, and I'm like, what in the world? I developed an allergy. That's so
gut
weird.
health. You got to work on your gut health.
Okay.
Inside our bellies reside 700 trillion bacterial species. So some people joke and say we're more bacteria than we are human, but it's a lot. So I call them like our internal pets. 700 trillion little bugs inside of us. Yeah. We need to feed them fiber, which is their main diet, and keep the toxins out. So those little internal pets will eat anything. They'll you eat candy and some fast food and some soda. Sure, they'll eat it, but it's not.
And they don't work right.
No. Okay. And 70% of our immune system is in our gut, and our brain neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, GABA, they're all made in the gut. So if you're having even mental health issues, it's important to work on gut health. And most people would never tie that together, but it's very important.
So is that recent research and findings, or has it been known as just I
think that's been known for quite some time as we start to study and learn more about the microbiome. Maybe in the last 10 years that we've really starting to understand the actual function of our gut flora and its expression on our body, our moods, how well we sleep, our weight. You can have bad gut bugs and have all kinds of issues, from itchy skin and eczema. Most skin issues are
Gut related.
that's gut related, because that's how it's trying to get out. Those are the toxins trying to get out, and that's the way it expresses itself. Autoimmune issues are typically going to be gut related. So working on gut health is definitely a good place to start, and usually digestion with a lot of my clients, because not we're eating on the road, we're eating on the run, we're eating in front of the TV, and we're not slowing down and not having family dinners and sitting and slowly digesting our food. We're gobbling it down and running to the next thing. So and you might be taking a PPI, or Tums.
I was gonna say heartburn and Tums and
heartburn.
stuff. So
If you're having heartburn, reflux, GERD, all those issues, that needs to be corrected. It's one of my, I guess you'd call it a pet peeve medicine, is because that's one of the most misunderstood is digestion and the role of stomach acid. And it's important to have high amounts of stomach acid, because that's what breaks down our food to the molecular level. I can tell you the healthiest diet in the world to eat, but if your digestion is impaired, it's all for naught, because you're not going to be able to break down, absorb it, assimilate it, and take in all those nutrients to build a healthy body, especially if you're taking a proton pump inhibitor that turns off your stomach pump, and now you're not digesting your food. No, we don't want to have heartburn and reflux. But if you actually look at the label on the box, it says it's not supposed to be used for more than 2 weeks. And I have
some people eat it like candy,
Well, and
daily.
there's people who are taking them for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and then they come to us at the Amen Clinics and they have dementia, and they're going, I don't understand why. And I'm like, well, 20 years you've been deprived. You've been deprived of nutrients. Your brain is literally starving of the nutrients that you're trying to get. So my thing is if you have these issues, if you have any symptom, really, let's get at the root cause of why are you having reflux? Why are you having heartburn? What is causing that? It's not because you have too much acid, because usually people aren't making enough, especially as they age, especially older people. The amount of hydrochloric acid we produce goes down as we age. So it's because the acid is in the wrong place. It might be, something's pushing up on that valve, and the esophagus goes down. You have this little lower esophageal sphincter, and it's floppy. Let's make sure it stays closed and keeps that acid in the stomach versus getting that little bit in the esophagus, which burns.
Yeah.
We don't want that. And those pills help do that. But
with a Band-Aid, more so.
It's a Band-Aid on a sinking ship.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Got it. So if, this is ticking people's boxes and they're like, yes, this is all the stuff I deal with, what's it look like when someone wants to become a client of yours? What kind of stuff do you offer? What's the process?
So the steps are usually, the first thing is I offer everybody a free 20-minute consultation. They fill out a health history form. I kind of learn a little bit about them, and then we have just a phone call just to kind of go over, what's going on, Austin? What's happening in your world? What are your symptoms? And then I just, kind of sets it up to see if they're a good client for me. Some things are, maybe out of my scope of practice, or maybe not my specialty. I actually don't work with a couple of things like type 1 diabetics or eating disorders. So I usually have some peers that I refer them out to. But most everything, especially dealing with high cholesterol, insomnia, high blood sugar, hormones with women, digestion, big one, and autoimmune disease, So then once they decide to become a client, there's a very in-depth health history that I take. And if they have it, I love looking at their lab work, and I love to work in conjunction with folks' doctors. And there's actually a lot of doctors locally who refer their patients to me because they're dealing with some issues, and we want to get them the one-on-one time that they need. And doctors are just busy. They have 10 minutes, and they don't have the time. And a nutritional therapist, that's our role. That's what we do. And so I have the time, and I make sure that whether we work together for 2 or 3 months, that's usual,
Okay.
typical, sometimes longer. People stay on for 6 months or longer. If they have a lot of weight to lose, it's really making sure that they're in there for the long time, and I'm their cheerleader the whole way, supporting them, checking their food journal every week and making sure that they're staying on track. So, yeah, that's how I work.
Okay, that's great. And then you also mentioned before that you work with the Wellness Kitchen here in Warrenton with cooking classes and things like that. So can you talk to me a little bit about food prep and your classes?
Yeah, that's actually one of the most fun things that I get to do with my job is teach people how to cook healthy food, because most people don't know how to cook. There's a lot of lack of skill, or they just don't know what to cook, or they're bored, or maybe they just want something fun to do.
Sure.
And the cooking classes are fun, and we have a great time, usually about once a month at the Wellness Kitchen in Warrenton, which is an amazing place to get great meals to go. So sometimes I cook for them too, and we make amazing soups and chicken dishes, and it's all like prepped and ready, so you can go in and like take meals to go. But so lately, I guess the last year or so, I've been teaching classes in there, and I love that one-on-one with a big group of people, and that's really fun. And that's probably the most fun that I have at my job is the in-person cooking classes.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if people want to do that, do they go to Wellness Kitchen or do they go to your website or something like that?
Either or, but they can just sign up on my website at unlockbetterhealth.com. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, and that is my book,
Yes.
my book baby 5 years ago, Unprocessed Living, where I teach people how to get off of processed foods, what to avoid, but also why. I think it's really important to understand the why. If I'm telling you, don't eat XYZ, but here's why. If you understand that part, it helps, I think, for you to kind of stay away from that a little bit more. So if I tell you all the 20 reasons why high fructose corn syrup is bad for you, then maybe you'd stay away, or maybe you'd avoid it. So that was the genesis of my book, was just trying to get people to stray away from all the processed, packaged, and convenience foods that we are inundated with in our society. Yeah.
So with this book, how long did it take for you to put it together? Obviously the experience is years, but what made you decide this needs to be a book and not just my practice, and how long did it take? Yeah,
so actually, so I've been teaching cooking classes for about 5 or 6 years now, and I used to teach in Dumfries at an over 55 community, and wonderful ladies. And one of the gals there, her name's Pat, and I even talk about her in my book. She would always come with a notebook. She had this big, thick notebook every class, and she would just be feverishly writing down, and she's just like, wait, slow down. Wait, what did you say? and I'm just like, I'm going to send you the notes and the recipes. And she's like, man, you should write a book.
Oh.
Great idea. Yeah. Maybe I will. And so I just sat down for 4 months solid straight, just writing it out, just getting it down, like everything from my classes, everything that I had learned, and try to, put it together in a very succinct and easy way of here's what I coined the nasty 9 ingredients, chemicals really, that we should stay away from, how to avoid them, the why, and then there's over 100 recipes in there too. So
nice.
Yeah, so if somebody's looking for a way to get started and they're at ground level, this is a good option. It's available on Amazon.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that was a really fun process, and I was very motivated to get it done. I do have 2 or 3 others in the works that hopefully I'll get out, someday soon.
Yeah.
It's a process. It really takes dedication to sit down and just write every day. But I've been very blessed to be very busy this year with clients. So
a little less writing time.
Yeah. So, but I love the fact that I'm constantly every week getting calls from people who just they're frustrated, they're sick, they're done of being sick and tired, and I want to help them. I want to help people feel better.
Yeah. And some of these stories that you've had now recently, you wouldn't have had if you finished your book earlier. So maybe they're supposed to be in your book. Timing.
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah.
When you have people get started with you, do you you said you're with them for, 3 months on average for a typical person. Do you see those huge transformations in that time, or do you just kind of get them launched and then it takes a while for them to reach some of the goals they've wanted?
Yeah, if somebody has a lot of weight to lose, obviously you're not going to see that in like 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually have one client right now who has really put in the work. I mean, she is just fantastic. Came to me with non-alcohol fatty liver disease, liver enzymes crazy high, and her doctor just said, lose weight.
That's helpful.
She's like, but I don't know what to eat, and I want to lose weight, but how do I do it? Yeah. And 3-4 months time, she's lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
And her liver enzymes are back to normal, and her blood sugar is normal, and that makes my heart happy. Mm-hmm. Some are more difficult, and it's just it's a process. But if you've got high cholesterol or high blood sugar, in 2 or 3 months, we're going to see that come down, especially blood sugar. One thing that's really neat is today we have the ability to self-order a lot of labs and also glucose monitors. So for a lot of my clients who want to monitor their blood sugar, they can actually wear a continuous glucose monitor, and I can actually get that data right on my phone. So I can see, I can pull
nice.
I can pull up my phone and check, one of my clients, and I'm like messaging her, what did you eat for lunch? Don't eat that again.
Yeah.
And she's like, I know, I didn't plan. And so, that's just, that's one of the fun tools that we get to use today. Technology has really come a long way.
For sure.
And being able to help and support people. But yeah, I do see very quick results when somebody is committed and they put in the work.
Yeah.
I just kind of lead them, guide them, educate them, provide them with, recipes and ideas and, ways that work for their family, because everybody's lifestyle is different, so it's not the same message for you that it would be for a mother of 5. I have to tailor those recommendations to the individual. So everything is by individual, but for the most part, I'm very lucky that I get to see amazing transformations in a lot of my clients.
Yeah. That's nice. That's awesome. And, more rewarding that you get to see it right when you're working with them too,
Yeah.
It's not just, teaching one class and then you kind of send them away. You get to work with them for a while to see those results.
No, I mean, I'll have them come to me sometimes like a year later, some of the clients, most of my clients are all on Zoom, we just meet virtually. It's been a long time since I've seen clients in person, but this way I'm able to, just be home and see as many clients as I can in a day working on Zoom. It's not ideal, but it is what it is, with technology. But when I actually, after a year of, maybe not working with them, and then they'll come to one of my classes and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at you. Yeah. Like, wow, just glowing skin, hair that just looks healthy. And they just have confidence and energy, and that's what life is about. Is really feeling good. So.
And so this also makes it so you can work with people that aren't local necessarily, a little bit of a drive away. So do you have a good amount of people that are out of this Northern Virginia area too?
Yeah, I mean, I do.
Awesome.
Because because I'm here, and the bulk of the clients who know me, and when I do local speaking engagements or whatnot, most of my clients are here locally, but because I do work for the Amen clinics and they have brain health clinics all over the United States, I actually have clients who are global. I actually have clients in Abu Dhabi, in London,
cool. Okay.
And so it's weird with time differences.
Some late night calls,
sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I have clients all over the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And earlier what I was asking was how fast you can see results. I was just kind of thinking about, I know some things are more like a marathon, and it's a lifestyle that you want to develop.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting, you were able to write this book, and with a lot of focus, knowing what you're doing, you did it in a few months. And people who have, had a lifetime of bad habits, if you're really focused for just a few months, you can see huge changes. Maybe not all of your goals met, but you can see some really drastic changes in your life for just a few months of, really high focus, whether it's in business or health or whatever. And I just think that's so cool. Sometimes people can get discouraged because it's like, your goals are too far away, you'll never reach them, or they're too hard. But with the right coaching and focus, I feel like you can, accomplish whatever goals pretty quickly. So,
a lot of people sometimes get discouraged up front because, the first 1 or 2 weeks, oh, I'm not losing weight, or, even a month down the road.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, but how are you sleeping? Are you sleeping through the night now? They're not waking up from 2 to 4. How's your energy level throughout the day? And, how is your mood? These are the things that are really important. And then eventually the weight, will start to come off. We have to lower the inflammation in the body, but you'll start to see other little things first. And good quality sleep is very important. Making sure somebody's digestion is optimal first. I mean, and then it starts to happen if weight loss is your goal.
Right.
But the most important thing is that I teach my clients is that I'm not a diet. This is not a diet. This is not, you don't come to me to go on a diet. I don't teach paleo or vegetarian or pescatarian. It is about what your body needs and how to create sustainable habits that will last you for a lifetime. So it's really about molding those healthy habits so that you don't fall back into just rushing around and hitting up fast food every night. And it takes effort and teaching and changing of habits, because if you're always steering your car towards the fast food after work and just trying to get that something in, then no, you're not going to see those changes. But if we can create sustainable, lifelong, really good habits, then you're going to be healthy and you're going to have that longevity and you're going to feel better in the long run. And that's really what it's about. It's not about those short-term fixes, and it's about sustainable goals.
Yeah. Do you see many people start homesteading when you talk to them? Like, what's your take on homesteading if people have the place for it and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who are interested in herbal, using herbs for, medicine, canning, growing their own food. I grow my own herbs, and sometimes I'll make some tinctures or little elixirs, and I'll kind of dabble in that a little bit. I have a huge herb garden at home, and I have enormous tomato plants that just went bananas this year, and so I'm having to put all those up. Basically, that's what we call it, putting them up. Okay. That's what grandma used to say. we gotta put them up for the winter. So I'm just basically canning them, or freezing them, or preserving them to make soups and stews all winter long. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. And if you have the space to garden or to grow your own food, you should do it. It's so easy. I do not have a green thumb, but I grew the heck out of some stuff this summer.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I was just wondering, because you were saying, lifestyle change and, for things to be convenient. I mean, homesteading is not necessarily convenient all the time, but it is right at your place, and
and there's really not much to it. So. I mean, I just plug in my sprinkler system to come on a certain day. I don't have to go out and water it, and it produced very well this summer. Okay. And I've got beautiful lavender and oregano and thyme and chives, and I have basil and thyme and strawberries because my kiddos love strawberries, and I thought, let me try my hand at growing my own versus spending $7.99 for a little container that you're going to eat in 2 days, every 2 days. So that's been fun. I'm growing berries. Cool.
Yeah. Do you talk about that in your classes or consults or your book?
A little bit. I mean, if somebody wants to learn that, I'm not an expert in homesteading for sure, but I mean, it's really not that difficult to put some seeds in some dirt and see what happens. I mean, if anything, it's a fun experiment, just see what grows.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, we want to do that more and more, and my girls love strawberries as well. So
I mean,
we're
and if I
definitely
could
going to be
have
doing
chickens and have my own eggs, you know, fortunately I live in a neighborhood, so I can't do that. But if we were, I would have chickens,
Yeah.
and you know, I'd be figuring it out. I don't know. I think it's kind of neat.
Yep. Yep. So this will kind of be a final question, but it might lead elsewhere, and that's okay. But so you are working with this, brain clinic and everything as, kind of more like a job, but
Yeah.
you have some control with it. What makes you, or what made you want to do more than just that? Because you're seeing results, helping people. It's in this field. Why do more on your own as an entrepreneur and, write a book and stuff like that when you're making an impact with your job, but what made you push to do more?
Um, I mean, the job at the Amen Clinics just kind of fell in my lap, and that
Okay.
they needed somebody at the time, and I was like, okay, well, I can devote 2 days a week. Like 2 days a week
Okay.
is what I devote to. It's really 2.5, but to them, and then I see my clients outside of that, and I've been able to strike that balance for 6 years now that I've been working with them to be able to do both. So and the clientele are very different. Most of the Amen Clinics patients are older, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
My oldest client was 101.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, man, if I'm 101 and I made it, I'm thinking you made it.
I might eat a Snickers. It's
I
okay.
might be eating all the
Yeah.
all the Twinkies and
Yeah.
the Hostess cakes that I can find, but I don't know. But I think it's all just depends on what you want for your life, and if you want to feel better. But the sad thing that I'm seeing is that brain loss, cognitive issues are starting to become an earlier issue, and we are seeing memory issues in 52-year-olds, people younger than me. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what is going on? Why is this happening?
Yeah, you shouldn't have this problem right now. Yeah.
No. And so so to that note, if somebody's having those issues, then we need to do a full lab work and find out, is it Lyme, mold? Mold is a huge one, causes brain fog and memory issues. But Lyme and its co-infections like Bartonella and etc. is a really, really big one. We've had some famous actor clients who, he came forward publicly, so I can say his name, but Chris Christopherson was suffering from dementia. But when we did all the lab work, it was actually Lyme. And when you treated the Lyme, his memory, well, he was fine.
That's
But
crazy.
he thought he was dying. He thought that he, had dementia, Alzheimer's, like that was it. But so it takes being a little bit of sleuth with your health. And if you aren't getting where you want to get with your doctor, maybe find another one and see, like, hey, why don't we entertain these labs? And I have a lot of trouble sometimes with my lab wish list that I send to clients, and I'll say, take this to your doctor, because if you have insurance, that it will cover all of those labs. And the doctors will look at the list and say, well, why do you need that? And why do you need that? And why do you need, I don't need that, but I do, because I know what to do with them, and I have the wherewithal and the education I want to order a full thyroid panel. I want to see what's going on. I don't just want your doctor to test your TSH. I want to see the whole panel, because that is one thing that's really important with women is undiagnosed thyroid issues. And if you're just testing your TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, you're not getting the full picture. So there's like 7 panels. It's a whole thing.
There's a lot of information available.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I just think that we need to learn how to become better advocates for ourselves, or have an advocate for your appointments, somebody that is knowledgeable and really pushing to get our doctors to start working for us and working with us, and maybe a little bit more time in there so that we can get the health care that we need, because we are not a very healthy society right now, unfortunately, with the way the blood sugar epidemic with pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, and heart disease being the number one killer, and high blood pressure. I mean, these are things that are preventable.
Right.
So lifestyle and diet has to be a focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Cool. So, what is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
Well, probably, I mean, the best thing about being an entrepreneur is you kind of get to set your own hours. So that's my personal favorite because, I mean, yes, I have clients that sometimes I need an 8 p.m. appointment. That's the only time I can see you, or I have to meet at 9 a.m. But for the most part, I enjoy my mornings. My morning ritual is getting out first thing and taking my dog for a walk and getting my morning workout in. Like, I need just a solid hour in the morning. I want to do that. I love being outside. I try to walk every day of the year, regardless of weather. If it's raining, I take an umbrella or put on my raincoat. And if it's super, super cold, I just bundle up.
Put your boots on. Yeah.
Because that being in nature and being outside is medicine to me, and that I need that. And it's just, I don't take any phone, no radio, no music. It's just me in nature. And that's my time.
Yes, yes.
So that's my favorite part about being an entrepreneur, is kind of getting to set my own schedule and being able to, I don't have a 12 o'clock today. I can go for a walk, or I can go for a bike ride, or I can go have lunch with a friend. I mean, that's, I think that's probably the best thing about having your own business, is that flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it can reverse on you if it's not a focus and suddenly you have no free time because it went crazy. But if it is a focus, it is possible when you own your business. Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, and when you're an entrepreneur, you're kind of always working. I might be, watching TV or out at dinner, and a client's texting me at Friday night at 8 o'clock. And I mean, if I'm not really busy, I'm gonna respond back to them. Even though I say that I only respond back during business hours, but I'm like, oh, you're going to the grocery store tomorrow?
Do the extra, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care. If I'm not busy, I want to help them. So, I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you what to do. Or they're like, oh, I'm going out to dinner tonight. Where should I go? I'm like, oh, go here and eat this. And, I don't mind. But I think that, you might work some strange hours but then again, you kind of get to weave in some stuff that you want to do.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what? I feel like nowadays, a lot of the time, people who have more of a regular kind of job employed somewhere, they're almost doing the same thing anyway. I've seen so many people that, if they're on salary, they'll be working weird hours and doing stuff all the time anyway. So it's like, maybe do it for yourself if it's possible,
if
if it's something you've thought about.
Yeah.
It's really not much different.
The client, the most frustrating things that I have with some of my clients are the ones that have the hour and a half commute into DC and they're sitting in an office all day long, 8, 9, 10 hours, and then commuting back home. Yeah. So they're going to work in the dark, coming home in the dark, and they're not getting any of that sunlight and not getting the movement that they need. And that to me is just, it's sad.
It's killing them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not great for our health. And hopefully I think that maybe perhaps with, a positive that came out of COVID is the fact that a lot of people are now allowed to work from home, allowed to be remote, because they can have a little bit of that flexibility and they're not spending an hour and a half commuting or 3 hours every day. So that's definitely improved a lot of people's health. But yeah, if you're going to a job like that and you're sitting, you've got to get up and move every hour. Yeah. You have to walk or get a standing desk, or stand up and, do some arm circles or some squats every hour, put a little reminder on your phone. Get
one of these that yells at you every hour.
Got to move my body. Yeah. You got to move, because you can't be sitting all day. Movement is so key to our health. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all the wisdom and tips that you have. And how can people get in touch with you?
Well, my website's unlockbetterhealth.com, and that's, all my contact information is there, and that's just the best way to reach me, right there.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Austin.
And definitely check out her website, and any way you can, ask questions or see if it's a good fit to be a client. Take a class if you're local here in Warrenton. Go to one of those monthly classes and have some fun and learn. But we will see you guys next time.